Hope Haven was more than just a charity to me. It was my heart poured into action. For years, I had built it with my own hands, brick by brick, fostering a deep trust within our community. Every smile, every life we touched, filled me with immense pride. It was a place of integrity, a beacon of hope, and I believed its foundation was unshakable. I loved seeing the vibrant activity, the volunteers, the people we served. It was my life's purpose. My sister, Serena, would often visit, offering what seemed like support. But there was always a subtle edge to her words, a quiet envy in her eyes that I chose to ignore. She'd compliment Hope Haven's growth, then quickly add, "It must be exhausting, Elara, keeping it all together." I brushed it off as sisterly concern, never imagining the true depth of her resentment. I just thought she was worried about my workload. One day, Serena offered to join Hope Haven to help manage its expansion. I was initially relieved, thinking her business acumen would be an asset. It seemed like a natural step, given our family connection. I welcomed her with open arms, trusting her completely. A tiny flicker of unease, a feeling I couldn't name, stirred within me, but I quickly pushed it away. I believed she genuinely wanted to contribute. Then came the first whisper of trouble, a small discrepancy in the quarterly report. Nothing major, just a few $1,000s unaccounted for. I remember feeling a prickle of confusion. I thought it was an oversight, a simple accounting error. We had grown so fast, I reasoned, that mistakes were bound to happen. I asked our team to look into it, confident it would be resolved quickly. It felt like a minor bump in the road. Soon, anonymous emails started arriving. Vague accusations, hinting at financial mismanagement within Hope Haven. My worry deepened. I spent sleepless nights trying to trace the source, feeling a cold chill creep over me. Who would send such things? Why? It was unsettling, like an unseen enemy was watching us. The joy I once felt for my work began to be replaced with a gnawing anxiety. The whispers grew louder, bolder. Doctored financial documents, meticulously crafted to implicate me directly in embezzlement, began to circulate. The fear was no longer a chill, it was a grip around my throat. I felt a rising panic, a desperate need to prove my innocence, but the evidence seemed so convincing. It was a nightmare unfolding in broad daylight, and I couldn't wake up. Then the news broke. My name, Hope Haven, scandal, all splashed across headlines and news reports. My world, my entire existence, shattered in an instant. The phone rang ceaselessly with reporters, my heart pounding with each call. I watched my life's work being torn apart on television, the anchors' voices echoing the public outrage. It felt like a cruel, public execution of my reputation. The public disgrace was immediate and brutal. Donors, once so loyal, withdrew their support. Volunteers who had worked tirelessly beside me abandoned Hope Haven. The close-knit community I had served for so long turned its back, their trust replaced by suspicion and anger. I walked through the streets, feeling their judging eyes, their whispers like daggers. I was an outcast, alone and heartbroken. Hope Haven, my beloved charity, crumbled before my eyes. Operations ground to a halt. Crucial funds were frozen, leaving us unable to help those who depended on us. The vibrant hub of activity became a silent, empty shell. My legacy, my purpose, everything I had worked for was dying. I felt a crushing helplessness, watching my dream dissolve into nothingness, leaving only despair in its wake. As I sat amidst the ruins of Hope Haven, the pieces slowly clicked into place. Serena's subtle comments, her sudden desire to help, the timing of the manufactured evidence. It was all too clear. The crushing, soul-destroying truth hit me. My own sister, my flesh and blood, was behind it all. Stripped of everything, utterly disgraced, a fierce resolve ignited within me. I would fight. I would unearth the truth, and I would expose her monstrous treachery, no matter the cost. My world was still a wreckage, but a spark of defiance flickered within me. I spent countless hours in the silent, dusty offices of what was once Hope Haven. Old ledgers, digital files, every scrap of paper became a clue. The community's cold shoulders were a constant ache. People crossed the street to avoid me. Their judgment felt like a physical weight, but it only fueled my resolve. I had to clear my name, not just for myself, but for the legacy I had built with so much love. I would not let Serena win. Late one night, hunched over my laptop, I found it. A hidden digital folder, cleverly disguised. Inside were manipulated emails and forged invoices, all pointing to Serena. My breath hitched. The dates, the IP addresses, they were undeniable. A wave of nausea, then a surge of fierce vindication washed over me. My own sister, meticulously planning my ruin. The horror of her betrayal was immense, but so was the clarity of proof. This was the key to unlocking the truth. I knew I couldn't do this alone. I thought of David, a former board member who had always valued integrity. He had seemed troubled by the swiftness of my downfall. I met him in a quiet cafe, far from prying eyes. His face was initially wary, but as I calmly laid out my findings, showing him the proof, I saw his expression change. Doubt turned to shock, then to a quiet resolve. He agreed to help, his conscience pricked by the injustice. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. Serena, sensing my quiet movements, intensified her attacks. New, more vicious rumors spread through the community. Whispers about my character, my parenting, even my children's well-being. My son Leo came home from school one day, his eyes red. "Mom, why do people say those things about you?" he asked. My heart broke. I hugged him tight, promising him the truth would come out. Her cruelty knew no bounds, but I would not let her break my spirit or my children's. With David's help, I carefully approached a local journalist, Sarah, who had covered Hope Haven's good work in the past. I didn't give her everything, but I presented her with enough compelling questions and subtle inconsistencies in the official narrative. I watched her eyes, seeing the spark of a true investigator. She promised to look into it, to ask some questions. It was a calculated risk, but I knew I needed a public voice, a crack in Serena's carefully constructed wall of lies. Hope began to bloom, fragile but real. I arranged a meeting with Serena alone. The air crackled with unspoken tension. She greeted me with a fake smile, but I saw the unease in her eyes. I didn't accuse her. I simply laid out the evidence, piece by undeniable piece. The forged emails, the altered financial records, the digital footprints. I watched her face, seeing her mask slip, revealing a flicker of fear. I wasn't looking for an apology or a confession. I was showing her that I knew and that her game was over. The power shifted. The journalist's story broke a few days later. It wasn't just a story, it was an exposé. Sarah had meticulously followed the leads, confirming every detail. The truth, irrefutable and devastating for Serena, was laid bare for the entire community. I watched from my window as people gathered around newsstands, their faces shifting from shock to understanding, then to shame for their earlier judgment. My name was being cleared, systematically, publicly. A profound sense of relief washed over me, heavy and sweet. Serena's downfall was swift and absolute. Legal repercussions followed, and the community, once her stage for manipulation, now turned its back on her completely. Her carefully crafted reputation, built on deceit, crumbled into dust. I felt no joy in her ruin, only a deep sadness for what we had lost as sisters. Justice had been served, but the cost was immense. Our family, already fractured, was now irrevocably broken, a painful testament to her ambition and my unwavering trust. The rebuilding of Hope Haven began, slow and painstaking. Former volunteers returned, their apologies heartfelt. New donors, touched by the truth, offered support. The silence of the empty building slowly gave way to the hum of activity once more. It was no longer just my charity. It was a symbol of resilience, of truth prevailing. My purpose, once shattered, began to mend, stronger and more defined than before. I was still Elara, but a new, wiser version, forever changed by the fire. I had triumphed, my name cleared, my purpose reclaimed. Justice, in its own way, had been served, but the profound, familial betrayal left an indelible mark on my soul. Trust, once freely given, was now a carefully guarded treasure. I learned that even the closest bonds could be weaponized. My path forward was hardened, my empathy tempered by experience. I stood stronger, wiser, but with a bittersweet understanding that some wounds, even when healed, leave scars that forever shape who you become. My children saw me fight, and they saw me win, a new kind of legacy.